Morning we got up and I made a fun breakfast for us. Spaghetti pancakes. Google it, y'all. We FaceTime family while we were eating so he could brag because that's something he likes to do. And we were laughing and joking on FaceTime and having a good time with that. After breakfast, we got a call to go pick up our niece and go take her to meet up. So we did that. We went and picked her up.
We did
And
that.
we met her mom at
We did that. That was not necessary.
BJ's. And we were there with family members. We come home and put our groceries away. And then a little bit later, we went to the bowling alley, a local bowling alley here, and we played games. And then and this is just Bubba and I, and we went to dinner, just the two of us, and then come home. He took the trash out because that's his chore. And he come in and he was playing in his room until bedtime. And at bedtime, I told him, I said, "Hey, Bubba, it's time to go to bed." And he goes, "Okay, good night, Mama, love you."
Good night, Mama. What is that? Why are you imitating Sebastian like that? That's how you're imitating him like I would imitate Proudfoot. Is that what Sebastian sounded like? Your missing child? The child that children, when they disappear, become perfect. Our children are perfect to us. But they're even more perfect. Would be more perfect if they were to vanish without a trace, as you want to make us believe. And here you are goofing on your son, the way that his voice sounded. First of all, he didn't say any of that.
And then he said goodnight to his puppies, and he went to bed.
Bad.
Okay, and walk me through what happened. You said that you were on a phone call, you were on the couch, and then you went to bed at midnight. Walk me through exactly what transpired during that time before you went to bed at midnight for you.
So, well, my husband, he works out of town a lot, so we normally sit and talk every evening, and I normally fall asleep on him. And he'll tell me, "Wake up, you gotta go to bed." And and that was right around midnight. So I got up and I put the puppies up and I went to bed myself at midnight. And I went to sleep, obviously. And then
Obviously, you went to sleep. Obviously, no, that's not obvious. I'm a night owl. Just because it's midnight doesn't mean I go to sleep. And usually, I try to sleep a lot earlier, but sometimes I just can't. And I don't. And it's not very obvious. If you see me online at 3 or 4 a.m., obviously I cannot sleep. So that is not really something that that needs to be highlighted. I don't think she went to sleep because she demands for us to accept this as a given. And when they do that, when people tell you what happened, and those are reliable statements with no extra verbiage, nothing significant being left out, everything flows, they state the facts. Okay, that's one thing. But the moment you inject something, and I'll get to the just part in a minute, the minimization of significance or time. When you say obvious or you know, no, I don't know. I'm here to listen to you and for you to tell me. Nothing is obvious about this case. Not a thing. So please do not tell me something is obvious.
I went to wake him up for school, and that's when I couldn't find him.
That's when I couldn't find him. It would be more natural to say, and I went in to wake him up for school, and I couldn't find, and he wasn't there. She said, that's when I couldn't find him, which indicates long time before that he was already unfindable. She's trying to sell us on a timeline. The same way that Daniel Martel tried to sell us on Friday morning. He said Friday twice because he wants to implant. Well, he's probably nervous too. And he needs to make sure we heard him. That was Friday, not any of the days before where the kids were absent from school. No way. Couldn't have been. And I don't care what his mother is witness. Well, I get into this later.
And
Yeah, but
around
what?
9 o'clock, he laid down. I heard a noise in his room. I said, I don't care what you're doing, but you got to knock it off and you got to go to bed. And he answered, yes, ma'am. And I said, okay. And
At least she learned later not to imitate him on AMW.
that was the last time that I spoke with Sebastian.
And she learned to use his name.
The next morning, when I went in his room, he wasn't in his bed.
Okay, anyways. Sorry, ignore that one. I'm interested in this.
We got up and I made a fun breakfast for us. Spaghetti pancakes. Google it, y'all. We FaceTime family while we were eating so he could brag because that's something he likes.
Does the accent remind you of somebody? I mean, this woman is a little bit, has a heavier southern accent, but isn't it pretty weird to compare her thick accent in the first one I just played to you and then the absence in the other one? Just a complete switch. That's a complete script. Everything about Katie Proudfoot is a script. She lives in different realities. She knows how to put herself into different realities and live her life as if both were realities, but one is and the other one has been fabricated for a reason.
I just can't express it enough that we just got to get them home. That's just where they belong, with their mama and daddy.
Mama and daddy.
I want to say it to my babies.
Look at
that
this.
Your mama loves you so much.
Did you see how she pushes out the tears? She is pushing for tears. She is not trying to hold them back, and she is not unable to hold them back. She is pushing. She is pushing them out. And also, I mean, is Susan Smith talking like that normally? With that type of thick southern accent? I don't know. I haven't really paid much attention to her, to be honest, because back then I wasn't that interested as I am now. But look at his face compared to her face. Look at the difference. What a difference.
I just can't express it enough that we just got to get them home. That's just where they belong, with their mama and daddy. I want to say it to my babies.
Trying to keep it together.
That your mama loves you so much.
Almost no tears and almost like she's laughing, right? Looping delightful. So I will get a little bit more into this in a minute. It seems to me just home. Get them home. Bring them home. Katie Proudfoot said, I just want you to come home. Just minimizes. Seth never said, I just want Sebastian. He said, I want my son back. And that's not limited to the home. In general, I want my son back. I want him to be alive. I want him to be with me. I want to spend time with him. Why is home so significant here to these types of people? I just want my baby to be okay. If you find out that Sebastian is okay, that will be a huge deal. After all this time of him having been gone. To call him a baby expresses that you see him as completely helpless. And in a disappearance where you think your son may be out there struggling, trying to survive, you would rather want to see him as a fit young man, as a very adaptable person who will master his terrain and find his way to come back. That is what hope would dictate if you didn't have any guilty knowledge. Chris Watts, of course, straight up. I just want them to come home. And now we have Malaya, Lily and Jack's mom. Twice, I want them home. Twice she says this. I want them home, I want to hold them, and I want them home. In case you haven't watched it yet, and on Sweetie Pie Lowe's, when I was on there, she played it from Lauren from Facebook. That video that compares Chris Watts and the Proudfoots. And in 1 second, I'm going to play this for you. Give me 1 second. Ah, where are we at? Come on, man. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, nothing. Everybody's gonna have their own opinion on anything like this. Everybody has an opinion.
No matter what anyone's personal opinion is.
People are people, and they have their opinions.
Ah, that idiot, man. I haven't heard his voice for a few days, so now.
Like we've the police department went door to door asking like cameras and everything, just like
Nothing.
Yeah. The largest manhunt in Tennessee history for a child. There's nothing out there.
Okay, so when they say there's nothing, they're telling you there's no need to look. They're discouraging you from searching. They're telling you, don't worry, dude, I already been through everything and there's nothing to be found. What was before that? Jeez, now I don't remember. Already.
No matter what anyone's personal opinion is.
People are people, and they have their opinions.
If you watch Chris Watts, I mean, everybody knows about him now. Otherwise, I would say, I would dare you to turn off the sound and play this interview of Chris Watts to anybody and ask him, what do you think he's talking about? And my guess is they would say maybe a sporting event, but not his family missing. He is a terrible actor. I mean, he was just grinning and couldn't. The only time he started to look stressed was when the neighbor showed him the tape from their camera at night, where you could see him, what was him transporting his family away. That's when suddenly the smirk went off his face. And he turned to super stressed, and it was a huge difference. So no, I don't think body language is something you can actually study. Body language is something that you recognize or don't recognize. And you don't recognize it by forcing yourself to see something, because that will only lead to confirmation bias. And everybody has a very different pattern. What is universal in all law enforcement or in all branches of law enforcement, when a drastic change of pattern takes place, it needs to be flagged immediately. Doesn't matter if it's your language pattern, if it's your body language pattern, if it is how fast or slow you speak, if it is the tone of your voice. The moment that something stands out, give it a check mark. You don't need to necessarily give it a red flag, but remind yourself, this is where something changes. You can keep this. I don't care what any instructor tells you. This is the way to utilize more than just tunnel vision to get us to where we need to look. Compared to adults, in my opinion, all or most children are body language experts. They pick up on these things naturally. But as life goes on, they're often being talked out of it and being told to overlook something negative from somebody whom the parents hold in high esteem, and overlook the good in somebody whom the parents may not consider important. Let's fly through this one.
Like we've the police department went door to door asking like cameras and everything, just like nothing.
And the largest manhunt in Tennessee history for a child. There's nothing out there.
How do you know? How do you know some camera footage isn't going to appear all of a sudden? How do you know that there's nothing? Let's move on to Granny's watching. I hope I find the right timestamp where I left. Ah.
What if your headphones didn't just play music?
What if you shut up?
Introducing the ability.
Realizing that it's not always a quick solution.
No.
I think it's very telling too of those. Call them green team, call them whatever. And
we listened to this crap before, right?
I think that's also very.
Okay, here.
Facial hair is not going to be very dark. It's going to be very light. Yes, glasses can change. I understand that.
Oh, really? That's so smart, dude. Glasses can change. Wow. Who would have thought?
Bone structure does not change.
Yeah.
And that person in this picture is not pigeon-chested like Sebastian is. So that's another thing.
Is that something, Chris, that they...
He is so focused on his body type, like pigeon-chested. What is he trying to say? Like, he doesn't look very manly, or... That's what I'm thinking, because that's what he keeps getting at all the time, you know, that he was an indoors kind of boy, and he was swimming pool bound, and he didn't play sports at all.
Spoke to you about yet, or I hate to say it hasn't not been a long enough time, but an age progression photo. Have you guys considered that? Is it too soon? Because I know at this age,
you know, it's probably very hard for Granny to get through this because, yeah, she knows what happened, or she knows at least that what Chris is selling didn't happen. But, they make allegedly good amount of money off of him. And he knows it. He knows that they're kind of like stuck for financial reasons. They're kind of like, he is the magnet. And there's a part of them probably tries to get, it's not easy to conduct a BS interview. It's not easy to lie. It's not easy to keep it together and not say what's really on your mind. Because Chrisfoot blows up at them immediately, like, what? And so they know that. They all know that. And I bet you they had meetings before, like, listen, man, I know it's going to be BS, but, I kick you down some, and please help us out here. This is a 5-hour live, man. And we're going to have a lot of viewers. It's going to be worth it. Just don't say the wrong thing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't, you know what? It's much better for me to do what I do. And when something comes to my mind, I say it. And many times when something comes to my mind, all of a sudden, that's actually the best part. Because even though I plan to get into a different area, I cannot not say it. Because something just hits me. It just hits me and becomes so crystal clear.
I think it's too soon. I think they do it like every 2 years.
2 years,
Yeah, so at this point in time, no, there's not been one that's been considered. I mean,
Chrisfoot pays attention.
Ask, but I mean, at this point in time, we don't know.
Okay.
Because one thing that stood out to me was Katie stating he was starting to grow a mustache, and I look at my son who'll be 13 in a month.
Oh, that's so interesting.
He damn near grew 2 inches overnight.
Oh wow, really?
One day he was like, "Mom," and I'm like, "Oh my God, what happened?" Like very recently. So I know
funny,
he
huh, Chrisfoot?
so damn great. I mean, he made me jump. I'm like, "Who's this man talking to me?" And it was
my teenage boy at age 15, 16.
Anything to stretch it out, anything to kill time, anything to keep the people watching or keep the people watching longer, anything.
And he didn't change much until he...
They're like, well, we got Chrisfoot on, so people are watching. I am, but I'm watching for a reason.
It was like 18, 19. He changed a lot, but when he got to like 15, 16, it didn't change much. For a couple of years.
If I had to guess right now, based on the time that surpassed the biggest changes about Sebastian, I
guess some people got a hard time adjusting the accent based on who is listening right now. But this lady seems to not have had too much communication with Americans before.
Go off the standard basics. His height has probably changed. His weight may have changed. His hair color may have changed. These are all things that one has no control over. It's just in genetics. I mean, it's going to happen. Bone structure really doesn't change. I mean, it'll grow larger, but it doesn't change in formality, like the form of itself.
Formality? Informality?
Right. Now, it's like my son, his hair gets lighter in the summer. Does that happen with Sebastian as well?
Kind of, yes. If he's outside for a long time, yes.
Okay. And I'll never forget, I asked you this over on Truce, and honestly, I think it was one of the most, in my opinion, not to self-praise myself, but let me do it. It was one of the most beneficial questions and answers that I've ever heard is when you described identifying features about Sebastian, such as, I believe you said the freckles.
Yes.
Except that Chris was able to be so detailed because he has no worry about Sebastian ever being found. At least not alive. So he will go really detailed into what Sebastian looks like. Because he knows you're not going to come across him at any time. You're only going to have a few false leads here and there, as I have seen recently on Facebook. So people want to, that's what's going to happen. And that's what all of this Look out there, out there, out there. Look everywhere. That means there's going to be a lot of Sebastians that people are going to be seeing and reporting. Anything to keep from looking at him.
Sebastian has freckles on his neck. There are 3, maybe 4 predominant freckles. If you're looking at him, it's going to be your left, but it'll be his right-hand side on the front of his neck. His chest is actually very noticeable. He has pigeon chest. What it has happened is he has a cartilage that grows on one side of his chest faster than the other.
Okay.
And that kind of pushes out, almost like one of the chest bones is sticking out farther than the other one.
It's the first I'm hearing that.
So that goes back to one of the pictures I think somebody saw. He had a brace on, and that's what that brace was for. It was to help correct it. And then they're like, well, he's not wearing it. Well, that was Sebastian's choice. That was not ours.
Right.
We gave him the choice to wear it or not wear it. He decided not to wear it. So
now, if he's out there and hasn't been wearing it, would it be more prominent? Does it, like, some of these photos obviously is more prominent in other photos than does that make it more prominent, or no, would it change it? It would just be the same.
Proudfoot loves dead leads. And he loves to talk about things that will not help figure out what they have done to him and where his body has been moved. Anything but he loves to talk about. And the longer, the more, the better.
That's hard to say because it could actually become more prominent as he got older. The bone grows, the cartilage grows. It can protrude a little more. It may not. It just kind of depends. If his chest cavity actually spread wider, it may subtly go down a little bit. We don't know. But that's just something the doc said. It's unless he would wear the brace, or there is a surgery that he could have, but that's Sebastian's choice, and he doesn't want it, and I wouldn't force it on anybody. So.
Well, you're such a good guy.
Difficult surgery. So
you only forced the belt on him. That's because you don't care if he turns out what he's going to look like either way. You know what I mean? It's easy to be lenient for you that way because you gave up on him anyways.
It is noticeable enough to the naked eye. I've never noticed it. Okay. Yeah. And then you said he's pigeon-toed.
Yeah, he kind of runs on his, when he runs, Seth describes it best because I don't watch anime.
Narado, or whatever his name was.
Yeah, whatever that character's name is, a little ninja dude. Sebastian runs like that. He kind of throws his hands behind him and leans forward, and he runs on his tippy toes, like on the balls of his feet and his toes.
Tippy toes. Even when he's not blatantly insulting, he still sneaks something in there. That sounds a little bit girly, right? Tippy toe. Or I don't know.
And leans forward, and he runs on his tippy toes, like on the balls of his feet and his toes. When he walks, he does have one foot that kind of turns in a little bit more than the other one. But, I mean, those are very identifiable features on Sebastian.
Chris, does he run on his tippy toes and flap his arms behind him? His hands.
He runs like this on the screen. He has his arms behind him, and yes, runs on his tippy toes. What?
Yeah.
He just said Narado. Here's an image of him. Now, this is something that. Is that how your boy runs too?
My grandson runs like that, yeah.
Now, this is a question that people have been asking. What was Sebastian on medication that were life-sustaining?
Okay, medication time. Let's see.
No.
Okay.
Life-sustaining, meaning medication without which he would have died. Quick answer, right? No. All the other stuff he gets into detail. What Sebastian looks like. No worry here. The moment the question comes about medication, there's silence and a very quick no.
The medication he was on, I'm not, so keep in mind, and I've heard people bitch complain about this when I say it's HIPAA.
Wait. again, now he talks about people because he knows that he is being confronted with this very sensitive area for him, the medication, and what did he take that night. And Proudfoot is not a good liar. He's a very blatant liar. And he knows it. So he knows that in this type of situation, it will be very easy for him to say something that can lead us to an answer. So the first thing he does now, preemptively, by the way, he is extremely preemptive. In that regard, Seth and Chris are polar opposites. Chris lets nothing go. If somebody makes some kind of comment and they say, okay, let's move on to the next, let's forget. No. He cannot let anything go. Seth lets everything go. When Chris starts shouting, so did Terry Lynn. Many people, they let anything go. They forget what they were going to ask. So we never got the answers with Worsham about his mother being there because Seth shut up after that. Chris and Image. Chris shut him down. Chris won. That's why he does that. And he knows it because he has developed a pattern throughout his life because he has won arguments not with intellect but with intimidation again and again. So he always goes back to what worked for him before. That's what people do in general. They go back to whatever worked before.
It is HIPAA because I'm not a biological parent.
Okay.
And Sebastian's of the age that we have to have written consent from him to divulge certain information, state of Tennessee law. So,
Chris, the same people saying it's HIPAA said that during a court proceeding, my attorney would not be able to ask for medical records despite emotional damage being one of their claims. So, that's where this image comes in. HIPAA Anonymous. These people don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. And when you talk to a doctor, talk to your doctor in your state and learn your laws, learn the rules. You'll understand them.
Or have respect for your children and don't give out their medication.
But you're allowed to talk about him defecating on himself or any condition that he may have had. But you cannot tell us. You already told us he's on medication daily and nightly. According to your logic, that is already HIPAA violation. But for you, it was no big deal. But the moment they asked you, what was he taking that night? It becomes a HIPAA violation. And that tells us that whatever Sebastian took that night is extremely sensitive to this case.
For the internet. He answered the question. That's all we need to know. We don't need to know anything further.
Yeah, one of the medications he takes helps with his helps regulate his behavior.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Keep him a little bit calmer. That's the best way I can explain that.
I wonder who pushed for that. I wonder who told the doctor that he needs that.
Allows him to stay focused. Another one helps him at night sleep. So that's really about what he's on.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
There you go. Now you got it. In general, at night it helps him sleep. How much did he take that night? Has law enforcement gone into the cabinets and actually found a bottle of that medication? Or did the content wind up in the retention pond? Did law enforcement actually confiscate his medication, check with the pharmacy and the doctor how much he was prescribed and how much was missing?
He's not going to die if he doesn't have it, but it does make it a little bit more difficult for Sebastian for controllability. And actually,
Controllability.
for some people to even tolerate children of that magnitude. Sometimes it's harder for people to.
He's just telling us he couldn't handle. He wanted him on this because he's all into it. That type of medication he's all into. He's explaining to you why he thinks Sebastian needed it. And he was gung-ho about it. He was like, oh yeah, that's the one we need, man. To make him controllable. Controllable, easy to control. Children of that magnitude. Now you don't say the name Sebastian. Easier to handle Sebastian. That's what he means. How many other children, so-called children of that magnitude, are you dealing with, Proudfoot?
You know,
More behaviour regarding behaviour issues, not life-threatening.
Right. Rudo, thank you, Big Back. Big Back. What a name. Thank you. I don't watch anime either, so I don't know. It is fantastic information because these are the things that can identify.
It's not fantastic information, and you know it. Because he's not out there.
So that we don't. And how about his glasses? How did he need glasses? Like, was it very. Is he pretty. Like, I'm blind without contacts or glasses. Could Sebastian be going through day-to-day life without glasses, do you think, or?
He could. It's not. He needs his glasses. He has I don't remember. He has a hard time seeing. I think farther out. So I don't know if that's nearsighted or farsighted. I always get that confused.
So do I. I think that's the opposite. I think it's considered nearsighted, which is weird.
Yeah. He has astigmatism. That's mainly what his glasses are for. Astigmatism. He has a really bad astigmatism.
Chris, does he make noises? Does he like echolala noises? Like or make a certain noise when he's stressed or?
Not like in the form of a Tourette's. No.
That's Sebastian was very high functioning autism. That's that's a different. I don't think he was on that spectrum of autism where he would make the noises such as you're thinking, Angel. But that's a great question.
Great
question. I will say
question.
you scared the shit out of me. It came in so loud it woke me up.
I am muted. I suspect. I think my grandson is going to be on Tourette's spectrum later.
Oh God, enough of your grandkids. Oh my God. You know, a lot of people on either so-called team, they're not into this case. It's not about Sebastian to them. They make it always about themselves and use that whole topic, a topic containing a lot of mini topics that are discussable because so much is being introduced in this case. So there are people that use this and say, oh, Proudfoot and the PI, they remind me of my ex and he was a narcissist, and then I have the kids and my kids also have a blah, 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 blah. No, it's okay to do a little bit of that, you know, but these people take it to a whole new level, man. This should be just, you know, why do you have to have Sebastian's name on this? You know what I mean? If you want a support group, then, you know, keep it. Anyways, just something. And that's not just here. I've seen it on X a lot.
It's non-verbal.
Yeah, see that.
No, Sebastian's very verbal. He is very high functioning.
Yes.
I paid £250 to be.
What else is he, Chris?
The ticky box for high functioning autistic myself, like.
Now,
what?
Chris, whenever you say high functioning and very verbal, with my son, he's autistic.
Come on, I was told there's something good gonna come here, but I will play through the whole thing, people. I don't want to shift back and forth and not find the right spot and then miss something.
Whenever he speaks, like he is high verbal and he does, you know, function pretty good with his speech, but you can tell by his speech pattern that it's not a normal speech pattern. Is there anything like that with Sebastian that would stand out to folks?
In like what manner?
Well, like my son, like a lot of his verbiage and his nouns are back.
He doesn't understand the question. She asked about speech pattern, if there's anything out of the ordinary how Sebastian speaks compared to other kids.
Words and stuff like that, and he doesn't say complete and full sentences. Like he'll speak in partial sentences, if that makes sense.
No. Sebastian, his tone, his verbal expression is very normal. In fact, he actually started coming into his little...
Like, what's the name? Allegedly innocent. What she said in her channel, and what she is already led towards, is that Sebastian's behavior, whatever is considered out of the norm, may be a lot more trauma-based than autism-based, including him having these accidents. So many things are being sort of dismissed as, yeah, well, he's autistic, you know what I mean? But no, I think the impact of him having been violated at the age of 8, and possibly other times, is huge and the source of so much. Because I saw the pictures from before he was 8, and he had this glow about him that I think partially at least disappeared after such an event. And they want us, of course, to focus on the autism, but no, there's too much stuff here where too many people easily say, well, he's autistic. That's kids, children of this magnitude, how Chris just said. But what do you mean by that? I don't necessarily think Sebastian would have had many of these mannerisms if it wasn't for that. He had an unnatural occurrence done to him. And he had what I consider to be possibly even natural reactions to something unnatural being done to him. So much rather than looking at what is wrong with Sebastian, what was done to Sebastian, that should be the ongoing question. And it's easy to dismiss it as autism and say, it's genetic, that's just how he is. I don't think so. I think hadn't he been abused like he was, he may have turned out completely different. And a lot of what we see is actually an expression of something that he hasn't gotten over at all.
One-line punchlines and getting his little one-liners in every so often is kind of funny.
Yeah, like the green tea.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Or I might ask a question.
Lowlifes. They're peeing on his grave. That's how I look at it. And now, you have no business doing this, knowing what you're doing, and reminisce about this boy.
Knowing that I know the answer, and I just ask the question, and like, it's this, duh. I'm like, all right, smart ass, got it, cool, thanks.
So as a teenager,
I bet there were many times that Sebastian had to correct Proudfoot.
Yeah, exactly. He was a teenager. He just had a little bit of quirks about him that
now suddenly he's just a regular teenager, right?
Are different from the average teenager. He had some personal struggles, but he's very high functioning. Like I said, he
personal struggles, only personal to him, and you had nothing to do with it.
He could play a 60-something-year-old man in a game of chess, and he beat him. Wow. So, I mean, he's not by any means
So if like you walked up to him on the
He's not by any means what, dumb as me?
street, you wouldn't notice anything in his speech different from anyone else.
You would notice he has a thing about personal space. Like he doesn't necessarily fully recognize personal space. If you were to start talking to him like Naruto and stuff like, oh, he is like right up on you, like, hey, oh, and he gets so excited, his eyes light up. But that's Sebastian. But I mean, if he doesn't know you, he probably doesn't talk to you. He'll probably like kind of turn his shoulder, like you're weird,
Right.
and stay to himself.
Again, like a normal teenager. I part of me, I know why they hadn't put the autistic teen in there, but I wish they hadn't. Because no disrespect to you ladies, but there's this stereotype being thrown on him, despite the fact that from early on it was stated he was fairly high functioning. He was newly diagnosed. His teacher said you would never know there was any diagnosis with him. But yes,
wow, who's starting to make sense all of a sudden?
People still envision their idea of autism onto him, and it's doing such an injustice to him.
Yeah. But I was diagnosed at 52, right, and I paid for the pleasure, and
I don't know, man. Maybe these people just want to have something to be diagnosed with, you know what I mean? I don't know. All of this seems... But who was it speaking? That granny woman? Who just made sense? I'm blown away, man.
I've got on with, like, when I was younger, I had loads of friends, like, until I got to, like, teenage years.
We don't give a crap, dude. We don't care. But... You know, the moderator doesn't care either because he's like, yeah, kill some time as long as Proudfoot doesn't shut off. People will keep watching.
And they were Billy No mates.
Right.
And believe me, that channel I wouldn't tune in for a second. And I started late because I was scared of listening to the whole introduction crap without Proudfoot actually being there, without any... I didn't know. So if anybody can hint me towards... that granny's watching video, at what exact timestamp does Proudfoot actually show up so I don't have to listen to any of their nonsense yakking and yapping it up?
And I couldn't, like, associate and get on with that.
She is hard to understand for me, so it's even worse when I like try to but even the caption doesn't get it all, you know what I mean? It's even worse when I have a hard time understanding and I'm working hard on understanding it, and then when I do, it's all crap. You know, it's like somebody telling you, come closer, I want to whisper in your ear, and then they just kick you.
As I got older, I sort of got my own quirky bits. I love my art. I get obsessed with things. I've got an obsession of finishing things. If I read something, I'll write it down. I've got like this.
Tell your husband.
Right. But I get that, but your
or tell your
experience isn't his, and I keep hearing people project their idea of autism is my whole point of it. I understand what you're saying about being later diagnosed.
We got the point, and you know what? Allegedly innocent, she said it very briefly, but they don't want to go into the trauma aspect. So they're trying to figure out how can it be this boy so high functioning, but you know, certain things that Proudfoot introduced, like, you know, having these accidents at school. Where does it come from? Of course, they do not want to revisit this because Proudfoot will log off. This is why this is a BS, a complete BS life, because it is complete confirmation bias. It is completely ignoring the bigger picture. It shows only less than one half, not even that, 10% of the whole picture. There are only certain areas that they are going to get into. So everything that they're doing is highly misleading here. And it's not going to get anywhere because the areas that need to be looked at, they refuse to look at.
And I'm not speaking directly to you.
Oh, she's mad.
Autistic or what? I don't know.
Oh, well, I know.
Well, keep in mind, there's something that
You're
has
normal?
changed in the past. I don't know.
You're normal? So what you doing on this show?
Like within 5 years or so, and it's been a huge change. Okay, so back then, there used to be a diagnosis for autism, Asperger's, ODHD or ADHD.
Did he say Asperger? No, I'm kidding. I know what Asperger's is. It's called Asperger's, right? How you pronounce it? The way he did it? No.
And all these other letter acronyms, okay? So what happened? Okay, now they have combined everything under one category, autism.
Actually, that's not true. Actually, that's not true. They have created, they have, all these different ones, there are different medications for. And some may say that's why, I'm not getting into it, but no, that's actually not true at all. They do not do that. They have different medications for different so-called conditions. And Proudfoot is I'm waiting for just one accidental good question. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for one of them to ask something that they know they shouldn't be asking, but by accident get to a topic that is somewhat sensitive to Proudfoot. So what we don't want to do in statement analysis is to ask pushy questions like Nancy Grace, who's, by the way, a disgrace in my opinion. And she gotten so many things wrong, and it is really, 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 So Nancy disgrace with her worthless interview, and it was worthless because it was easy for people just to take a defensive and not say a lot, which is exactly what happened. But what you want to do with a guy like Proudfoot, either ask him something, either provoke him with something. Of course, he may then leave the show, but we would get something out of that. We would get a statement that is useful, or make an innocent mistake where he actually thinks you're dumber than him. Where basically something where you agreed on some things not being asked, but you don't ask that one directly, but you ask something similar. You just step into it. Where he doesn't think you did it by, and Chris, I think he will be very lenient with people making stupid mistakes because he actually feels better about himself when people do it. But what he will not do is, see you as an enemy and then refuse and then log off. So that's actually that. I'm waiting for them. So by accident, get to a certain topic that is sensitive to him. Thank you for suffering with me, by the way. I couldn't do it by myself.
Diagnosed with something, it's still in a form of autism. So unfortunately, that's why everybody...
ADHD is autism?
Will now be known as...
Yeah, the Proudfoot is all the same. Weird, it's just weird.
You have autistic if you're this. You're autistic if you have that. Doesn't matter. That's what it is.
Right.
The word according to Proudfoot.
And that does cloud people's minds about, like you're saying, Granny, that, everybody's got this idea of this image of this poster of what an autistic child is. That's not the case.
Right.
It all needs to be changed. They should have a poster with autism, with all kinds of form of autism in a child or a person with it.
Yes, autism is a spectrum, but ADHD, Asperger's, it's not. Oh, God.
On that poster as a big group, autism, you never know.
That actually would be a fantastic idea.
Wow.
I so apologize if I came off that way, like I was just putting him under every other spectrum.
Shut up.
I was asking the difference. I'm so sorry if I came off.
Shut up. Be sorry to Sebastian. Apologize to Sebastian if he can hear you, which you know he can't.
Oh, you didn't. I hear a lot of creators using that and saying that, and there's just such it's like a vision of what autism is, and it's of course of the worst degree, right? Like the nonverbal, and Sebastian has been stated over and over and over again that he's very high functioning.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's why, like, I was trying to just
How many minutes do we have on this now? 10 minutes? No, less. 5.
Put it out there is like everybody has come up with this idea, and that's not the case.
What is the case?
People wouldn't know Sebastian. Like if we had never.
So all the things that you complained about with Sebastian, what is the root to all of that? What is the root? What does that make Sebastian?
Said he was autistic. People would not have a clue that Sebastian was autistic. They would thought something was wrong with him, and not ever said autism.
Right. And do you know what? You think there's something wrong with you because you're autistic. Well, at 5-6-year-old, I learned to play the keyboard just by listening to sound.
Me too, but that doesn't make me autistic.
Autism, a lot of times, are very, very smart. Sparks, that's not what he said. That's exactly what we mean about people pouring things apart.
And if you see me artwork, right? I never thought I was good at drawing, but I can draw realistic people. I'm good at drawing.
Okay.
Hey, Granny, can you put what Sparks said back up there real quick?
Absolutely.
Oh, let me see that.
I'm just crap.
Okay, shut up. Just put this up there. Okay, I have to turn off the CC so I can see this. Wait a minute. What? You can have ADHD and a stew of other things and still not be autistic. Haha. Sparks and Sparkles said, what? You can have ADHD and a slew of other things and still not be autistic. So finally somebody says, what is this dumbfoot yapping about here? And did you notice what I said earlier? Chris cannot let anything go. If I was dumb as him and did such a blunder and somebody posted something like that, I would say, thank God it's gone. Maybe people didn't notice, and I would say, okay, let me move on to a different subject. Maybe people will forget about it. Let's get back to the important things. Let's see what Chris Foot says here.
I go out, and I like the music and I like the dance. Someone talks to me, I was like,
shut up! Nobody cares.
Sparks and Sparkles or whatever. You said that how can
Sparks and Sparkles or whatever, like her, but she's one of those haters, and how she say like I'm not smart. You seen the same pattern. Oh yeah, I want to see this one, man. Oh crap.
you have ADHD and a slew of other things and still not be autistic? That's not what I'm saying. I am saying
yes, that's what.
If you do the research,
that's what you said. It's not all under the same umbrella. Everything is just autistic. It's exactly what you said, you idiot.
Research now of what autism is. Autism would be the very top of the bracket. Below autism, spiderwebs off to various other things.
No.
But instead of saying,
no,
hi, I'm a person who has ADHD, OHD, ABCD, whatever.
Ugh, Christopher.
What they have now done is combined all of that under an autism spectrum. So instead of identifying
the autism spectrum is
a person with specific traits, they've now decided to say you're autistic.
No.
Right. It's easier just to label that. I get what you're saying. He's not saying people can't have ADHD without autism. They can, absolutely.
Yeah, and I will say this, as crazy as it sounds, it's kind of a good thing because it's made it a lot easier for individuals who have these disabilities to receive help. Because a long time ago, if you didn't meet certain criteria, you could not receive help, like i.e. what Sebastian needed, the help he needed years ago was not allowed to get it because of the way the diagnosis was written up. Because he has that chromosome deletion, now that's been thrown under autism.
Does he?
We've been able to get him
How we know?
All of that help that he has needed.
I'm going back to when I was a teenager. I had these
No.
issues. I could not.
Please
I
don't.
see red. I kick holes in walls. I would slam doors.
Well, that's called being a teenager.
Oh, Christopher is so smart.
It was worse. I was really bad, right? Was Sebastian like that, where he couldn't express his emotions?
No, Sebastian can express his emotions. Now, don't get me wrong. No child should be allowed to kick a hole in the wall or punch a hole in the wall. No child should be allowed to do that, period. Why?
Well,
Because you're allowing a child to understand that they can react and just do whatever they want without a consequence. That's not something you should do. Now, granted, I'm not an expert on parenting.
Oh, really?
Okay? But keep in mind there are other ways to vent anger and get your frustrations and
Then beating a child with a bat. Yes, I agree with you.
you're trying your emotions out, other than necessarily trying to inflict some type of harm or a physical aggression. There are other ways.
Knowing that I'm on the spectrum now, and I look back at my teens, I couldn't express my emotions. I couldn't express how I felt.
Are you asking if that's how Sebastian was, or are you tying this in?
That woman needs therapy and not a YouTube live. Seriously, this is about Sebastian, and Sebastian is still missing, but they're sidetracking, and I don't know why people are watching this crap.
These emotions, I couldn't express them. And
So to help you, I know what you're saying. So here, I'll tell you this.
I don't.
Sebastian was not much of a talker. Okay, he didn't really talk about his emotions, and he wasn't very a physical person about his emotions either. However, I was able to there was something that me and him only had as our little thing. Okay, I would and sometimes you'd have to get him upset. We had to get him mad.
You did that, yes.
But at the same time, I have to give him that grace because I want him mad so he will express his feelings. He will let it out. And I told him, say what you need to say. I don't care what it is. I give you permission. There's no consequences. You can say it. And I told him, if you want to say, I fucking hate you, you can say it. If you say whatever, you can say it. No repercussions. I want you to vent. And he would. Now, granted, sometimes his mom heard it. And she'd be like, what did you say? I'm like, whoa, I gave him permission. Don't, we're talking. Give him. And
Yeah, so she didn't protect Sebastian from Chris, but she felt the need to protect Proudfoot from Sebastian venting.
she's like, okay.
Right, because it's a healthy way for him to express that frustration. If that includes having to curse, I've done that with my kid. I get exactly what you're saying.
But at the end of it,
I reckon my son's on the spectrum, even though he's not had a diagnosis, but you have to push him to the point where he gets so upset that that's when he'll tell you what's bothering him.
right, but at the very end of it, I always gave Sebastian, he always had that opportunity. And at the end, when we were done,
I try a couple more minutes, people, and see if something important comes up. And if not, I'm going to shut it off and continue another day. Because this is just, wow.
Tear too, because he's upset, because he's so frustrated. But he would always come up to me and give me a hug and say, I'm sorry and I love you. And I would say the same thing back to him. You know, like I said, there's ways for children to express themselves without doing a physical aggression. Punching holes and kicking holes in the wall, no, not tolerated. I don't care who you are. That should not be tolerated, period.
Right. And no, he's saying opposite, Sassenach. He's saying opposite. Blessed be. This is actually a good question.
My son, he's got Klippel-Trenaunay-Weber syndrome, and he's got deformities. He got picked on. He never had many friends, and like looking back, I'm sure he's on the spectrum. And this time,
Why are you talking about your son? Why are you outing your son like that? Seriously, like keep that private for your son. Do you think? I don't know. Maybe people like it. I don't know.
and I've had to really push him to get the truth out of him. And I've got a cuddle out of him, and he's upset, and he's told me the truth or what have you. But
I don't think that's what Chris is necessarily saying, Angel. I think Chris is saying he learned away with Sebastian so that he wasn't punching walls like you originally asked. Instead,
my son, I've realised that that's what I was like. My son's
Right.
not like that.
Okay, enough.
Right. I think
Even that granny woman got enough now. She's probably like, okay, I cannot take it anymore.
every child in this world is different. Not one child is the same. You don't always treat them all the same either. You have to find ways that it works for that child. Okay? So whatever you have to do, explore alternative avenues of finding out what works. But keep in mind that there has to be a line of discipline. There has to be a line of what's allowable, what's not allowable. And you have to keep.
If my parents had communicated with me and asked me why I felt so angry and wanted to understand me, I wouldn't have done that.
right.
Well,
Thank God
also at the same time,
Sebastian
I mean, they didn't have them back then. They have them now. Have you seen these places now that even corporations take employees to them and they do an employee outing and they take them to this smash room. People go in this room for like 15 minutes and they just break shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Team building exercises, whatever. That can be a form of allowing aggression out. Why? You're taking them to a location in a controlled environment, okay? Under your authority, your permission, your watchfulness, and you're allowing your child to get some aggression out. Bowling could be another one.
Bowling?
Games, sports, whatever. You just have to find what works best for your child. So
to this day, I beat the shit out of my pillow.
well, I mean that may be the thing.
Hey,
I know
Chris,
that there are some women in this world that cry. They will go to a shower and cry their hearts out so their children don't see how upset they are. I know this for a fact.
Yep.
Chris, I just have two questions. It's Jay again.
Please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you guys were talking about the medication,
Yes.
and Seth said like he wouldn't give Sebastian his medication
Yes.
on the weekends he had him. I just wondered if there was any noticeable side effects when Sebastian would come home, you know, that you guys had to kind of deal with.
You mean side effects from not taking medication? That wouldn't be side effects. It could be withdrawal symptoms if something is, you know, highly habit forming. But what are you talking about? Medications have side effects. Not taking medications wouldn't have a side effect.
Getting back on them.
Yes. So we would get a phone call from the school. I mean, this right here will be the tall telling signs right here. We get a phone call from a teacher from the school. And they'll ask, he was at his dad's this weekend? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, never mind. And they'd be like, we got it, thanks. And they'd hang the phone up.
Right.
They would. Is that what he said? They would?
Gotcha.
I mean, it's very noticeable when he's on and he's off it. Now, I don't want anybody to sit here and saying what I'm saying is bashing Seth. That's not what I'm saying.
I will revisit this part later and look at the transcript exactly what Proudfoot said. Let me see.
No child should be allowed to kick a hole in the wall or punch a hole in the wall.
I want to see this part.
No child should be allowed to do that. Period. Why? Because you're allowing a child to understand that they can react and just do whatever they want without a consequence. That's not something you should do. Now, granted, I'm not an expert on parenting,
Okay, guys, sorry.
okay? But keep in mind there are other ways. You get a phone call from the school. I mean, this right here will be the tall.
We would get a phone call from the school. we would get a phone call from the school. You would get it if it actually happened, yes. He's not actually telling us we got a phone call from the school.
Telling signs right here. We get a phone call from a teacher from the school.
We get. Does he say we get a phone call from the teacher from the school? We get, is it past? According to the CC, I didn't catch it all. It's present tense. It can be a script.
Cool. And they'll ask. He was at his dad's this weekend.
And they will ask. Would, get, they will ask. I want past tense. We got a phone call from the teacher and he asked, was he at his dad's this weekend? But he said he was at his dad's this weekend? Question mark. Like they have their own little secret language going on, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, never mind. And they'd be like, we got it, thanks. And they'd hang the phone up.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. We would. And we get. Running through your mind right now, like a script. And they will ask. Indicating they have not in the past. This could be him coming up with something that he would like to be. It would. We would get a phone call if we actually did. We got it, thanks, and they hang up. Okay, yeah, right, gotcha.
And it's very noticeable when he's on and he's off it. Now, I don't want anybody to sit here and saying what I'm saying is bashing Seth. That's not what I'm saying.
Fuck Seth.
He is his father.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
His choice about the medication.
Ask Kisses. F Seth. Yeah, that's how they get on his good side.
That's his choice. Katie's choice about medication, her choice. And I have to leave it at that.
Right. Yeah, I feel like Seth did
But again, Seth needs to stand up.
on purpose to override whatever you guys were doing.
And wasn't it that Tony told him not to appear on a live a few days ago? What was that all about? Like Tony said he's not going to let him? Jesus Christ, man.
If I'm being honest, because he sure as hell had no problem admitting he took medication for his big ass.
Well, I will say this: the side effect of one of the medications is it curbed Sebastian's appetite.
Right. Seth brought that up.
To the point, I mean, there were some times where all three of us were like, "That's okay. We need to talk to the doctor. What he's losing a lot of weight. What's going on? What can we do? You know?"
He was always searching for food. He was always, you told us. He takes stuff out of the cupboard and refrigerator, and he's so scared he ate it because he wasn't supposed to, and he puts it back, the empty jars. So this is complete nonsense now.
That has come up. I don't want people to say no.
Right, and I think they always adjust meds, right?
They can. One of the things the doc said was on the weekends, one of the medications he didn't have to take. If he's just going to be at school, they recommended he take it the night before. But if he's not going to go to school, it's not mandatory. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to put that out there. People can take it for what they will. The parents have that decision on the medication. And I think that should be kind of where it's left. I don't think people should attack parents based on the medication, the regimens, because one, people aren't in the room with the doctors when this is going on. It's the parents. I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody else's kid or their mom and dad, well, you should put this child on this regimen every single day. That I'm not a doctor. I'm not.
Right.
But that's not fair.
Chris, can I ask you, what's your take on Sebastian playing on an adult account on gaming?
I don't know. I can't speak on that. I don't know.
Well, and to bring it back, what you just said is that medication would carve his appetite.
I can't, people. I can't. Okay, this is at 4:31:40 is a timestamp. of the granny's watching thing. I will wait if somebody brings other parts to my attention that are maybe worth looking at. This is just, I don't even know what the hell I was listening to right now. But back to Just Home. Just Home. The similarities are staggering. As things come my way about Malaya, who is now no longer with Daniel, supposedly Daniel's mother kicked her out because her family suspects Daniel or something like that. And she blocked him on social media. He has no way of getting in touch with her. That tells me Malaya knows the kids will not come back, because otherwise he would be the lifeline to their children. Have you seen them? Have they come back? Anything new? No, she knows it's all final. Guilty knowledge has been noted with Malaya. I believe a lot more has been indicated about Daniel, and I hope I'm wrong, but no. I'm going by the language. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for keeping things coming my way. And thank you so much for your interest in what is important. And I apologize for this crap, for some of it, this waste of time. I normally want to do things the way that I analyze them when they come my way, but there was not that much to analyze here, simply because they talked about anything but Sebastian, and only the autism part. So I hate to leave it like this, but I see you next time.